just join in when he gets here so we don't delay our start time. So I'm going to call the Novi Community School District Board of Education regular meeting to order. Today is Thursday, August 20th, and I would like to welcome everybody. It's great to see young faces on our screen tonight. It's exciting. It kind of feels like we're getting back into the swing of things. So welcome, and we're really glad to have you here. I would like to start with a roll call vote. Mr. Mena? You are muted. There you go. Perfect.
All righty. So there we go. Trustee Cook. I saw that. I see you there. I'm going to mark you down. I read your lips. Trustee Hood.
Here.
Trustee Mena is here. Trustee Murphy.
Here.
Trustee Roney.
Here.
Trustee Ruskin.
Here.
And Trustee Smith.
Here.
So we're all here, 7-0. If everybody can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Get an approval of the agenda, if I can have a motion. Mrs. Hood?
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
I'll support.
Recommended by Mrs. Hood and supported by Mr. Cook. Mr. Mena, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Hood.
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Roney.
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. First on our agenda, we have reports to the board. I will turn it over to Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. We're very excited this evening. We have representatives of Frog Force 503 with us this evening. Miss Janet Bloom is here with her cast of thousands, and we're very excited that they are here to kind of update us on the work of Frog Force and to let us know all of the good things that they're doing. So I will turn it over to Mrs. Bloom.
Thank you. Again, my name is Janet Bloom, and sponsorship mentor for the Frog Force team. And I wish to thank the school board and the Novi Community School District for all their time and support in allowing us a few moments to speak this evening. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the core of the team, our students. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pranav, the Sponsor Relations Group Lead, and I'm excited to share the progress Frog Force has made as a team during this unpredictable season. I am joined with my other sponsorship representative, Kiathi, our programming group leads, Joshua and Sai, our electrical lead, Arsini, our drivetrain lead, Krishna, our student champions, Jeffrey and Rishi, and our student president, Andrew. Thank you so much for having us today. Now I will pass it on to Rishi to talk more about the FIRST program.
Hello, everybody. FIRST stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. They have over 700,000 students in the last season from all grades. FIRST LEGO League Junior encompasses grades K through 3, FIRST LEGO League grades 4 through 6, FIRST Tech Challenge grades 7 and 8, and FIRST Robotics Competition for grades 9 through 12. Michigan had 542 FRC teams last year, the most out of any state, out of a total of 4,000 teams. And FIRST encompasses over 100 countries. Who are we? We're Frog Force, Team 503 from Novi High School. Our mission is to motivate and educate kids in engineering, marketing, finance, life skills, and more. Since our start in 2001, we've continued to grow and become better each year. We have a strong presence in our community with our outreach and community service programs, and each year we continue to leap ahead.
So let me tell you more about our team. Some new things that we've done this year is implement roster requirements to make sure our team can hop to it when we hit build season. We celebrate our diversity because it gives us a variety of skills and well-rounded worldview. When we traveled to rural China last year to help lead first tech challenge workshops for 6 new teams, and we were able to translate the build manuals and present the classes in Mandarin. At Frogforce, we always like to be a leap ahead. At Frogforce, we always like to be a leap ahead. We try to show this in not only our competition skills, but our drive to help our community. With our hard work, we've achieved many things over the years. A couple highlights are we won the World Championships in 2005, event finalist 14 times, and won the Chairman's Award 12 times, which is an award given to the most well-rounded team. We also won the Engineering Inspiration Award in 2019, which is given to the team that shows outstanding success in engineering, and became district finalists. And now to Arsene, who will tell us about our team management.
We try to have a mostly student-led team by electing our team officers and appointing group leaders through an interview process. In addition to having all meetings be student-led, a lot of our team organization is done by the steering committee, a group of mentors and student leaders who have weekly meetings year-round to steer the team towards our goals. We hold kickoff at our school every year. Here the game is presented and build kits are handed out to teams. The following day we go right into game analysis, where we break up into groups and dissect the game from an engineering standpoint. Here our entire team's input is used to create a solution. Later, we meet up for FFFD, Frog Force Function Deployment, to brainstorm mechanisms for the robot. Speaking of the robot, on to Sai, who will discuss our 2020 robot.
Now we'll discuss some of the advancements that we've made on our robot this year that have made it far more competitive. So our single flywheel shooter has been designed to hold large amounts of inertia using dead weights, which allows us to drain 5 out of 5 balls in the center goal almost 100% of the time. Also, our rotary indexer, which is the main storage portion that has these circular slots to store each ball, actually, it kind of resembles the cylinders of a gun. It passes balls through the shooter, allowing us to control the motor power to provide a more consistent throughput to the shooter and hence more consistent shots. And to get around defense even better, our shooter was designed to be mounted in the most optimal location determined by CAD near the back of the robot, so as to shoot with a particular trajectory that will always let us shoot over even like tall defense spots. So finally, the tip of our hood, the deflector of our shooter, can flip back and forth to provide for 2 alternate shooting locations that we have set dialed in speeds for in the code. So we can shoot from both close and far away depending on where defense is. And once again, all these advancements were mainly attributed to our process in effectively using computer-aided design. And it has helped us a lot, especially when trying to simulate complex geometry and physics. Next, Krishna will talk about one of our biggest advancements this year, our Swerve drive.
Thank you, Joshua. So, after a year of technical development, we were able to accomplish in manufacturing a Swerve drive. But what is a Swerve drive? A Swerve drive is basically a type of drivetrain that can move in any axis of symmetry while rotating and moving forward at the same time. There's 4 Swerve modules on an individual robot, which consists of 2 motors, one for turning and one for driving the robot forward. Changing to a Swerve drive put our team at the next level, put us at the top 10% in the world. Not only putting us competitively ahead, it has also made us gain so much knowledge through the manufacturing process. The new drive system uses a pure pursuit programming. Pure pursuit is a path tracking algorithm. It computes the angular velocity command that moves the robot from its current position to reach some look-ahead point in the front of the robot. Next, Sai will talk about autonomous programming.
So for programming this year, the first thing we had to do was to adapt our code to the new Swerve drive base so that it would be able to control all 8 motors in the most efficient and controllable way for the driver. So next, we re-implemented a control algorithm for the Swerve drive that Krishna kind of mentioned before called Pure Pursuit. So adaptive Pure Pursuit is an algorithm that's commonly used amongst like contemporary autonomous vehicles, and basically has consistently allowed us to follow a path even despite small inconsistencies that may occur in the field, such as obstacles or other robots that might get in the way, since the system actually uses an actively updating localization method so that we know where we are on the field at all times.
Additionally, our autonomous programs have been greatly advanced by our use of a vision tracking system, which uses a high-intensity light to reflect off of reflective targets strategically placed on the field. Through combining these techniques, we are able to accurately locate the goal and shoot balls in. We've combined all of these to create an 8-ball autonomous program, which is something that was achieved by less than 5% of teams globally. Now I'd like to play our 2020 recap video.
Moving into our community outreach initiatives, NBot is our Novi Robotics Boosters program, helping promote first involvement across the Novi Community School District. Here we support teams across all Novi schools through grants and sponsorships and through our annual town hall meeting, facilitating participation through the community ed. In addition, we have several Detroit outreach programs as well. Here, we work with Detroit Public Schools, helping start and support 57 FIRST teams through our partnerships with the Robotics and Engineering Center of Detroit, SAY Detroit Play Center, and Detroit PAL. Sourcing over $300,000 in grants, we provide training, workshops, and mentorship to teams. In terms of our international outreach initiatives, we have started FIRST teams in rural China. Last November, we had a group of Frog Force students go to China, where they created and ran an FLL and FTC competition, helping translate curriculum materials as well. In addition, this June, we ran our 24 Hours of STEM event, partnering up with 5 other FRC teams around the world. We produced 6 hours of content for the Eastern time zone, including programming for vision targeting and additive manufacturing techniques.
And now let's talk about e-NABLE. e-NABLE is a global nonprofit organization where we build low-cost prosthetic upper limb devices for children in need. As a team, we are the only student-led chapter in Michigan where there are custom-designed prosthetics, and we even taught Novi Community School District 4th graders about 3D printing and how to build these prosthetics. As a team, we've created over 240 prosthetic arms and distributed over 60 of these arms to Lucky Fin Hand Camp, Detroit Maker Fair, and 16 of them globally. We also take care of translator care manual to several different languages. And now let's take a look at the 2020 Chairman's video.
Barriers come in different shapes and sizes.
Some can be seen and some cannot. Some are physical, some are cultural, and some are social.
But we believe that FIRST crosses all borders, breaks down all barriers, and defies all boundaries.
We start in our own neighborhood, spreading the word, sharing what we know, and learning together.
We work with our community to assemble 3D printed prosthetic arms,
so everyone, including young students, know that they can make a huge impact.
We celebrate success of any kind to build confidence and connect everyone.
But it's also about looking beyond our borders and stepping outside of our comfort zone to share what we love with everyone.
We source funding through grants and sponsors to break down financial barriers. We work through school systems to make FIRST available where students are every day.
And at community centers, where students learn and play. We stick with our teams, providing continuous support and starting sustainable programs, so there is always a team for any student to join.
We work with neighbors close to home and across the globe to make FIRST accessible for everyone.
Robotics is a universal language that brings everyone together, increases understanding across cultures, and provides life-changing opportunities.
We meet students where they are and create a safe space that nurtures an innovative spark.
We form alliances to tackle the big challenges.
We connect people from all communities, countries, and cultures. So together, we can change the world.
COVID-19 landed in Michigan on March 10th, and shortly thereafter, the governor mandated the shutdown of schools statewide on March 16th. Following suit of many other organizations, FIRST suspended the season across all of its sectors. We were quite shocked by the rapid advancement of all these changes. However, we got right back on our feet and continued operations by meeting virtually. We worked on several other community service and outreach projects, including food drives, Folding at Home, which is a nonprofit using crowd computing to run simulations to help find a cure for COVID-19 and other diseases, Feed the Neem STEM kits, and remote programming classes for FLL, FTC, and FRC. One of our biggest initiatives was the ShieldOurCommunity project, where we distributed 3D printed face shields to frontline healthcare workers. And we still continue this project to this day through our initiative to provide PPE for Novi Community School District staff. So far, we have distributed over 2,000 face shields to doctors' offices, dental offices, Novi Police and Fire, and many more. We also hope to continue working on our mission to distribute 1,000 face shields for Novi teachers and staff. Thank you so much for our 2020 season supporters. We thank you for your continued support during this hectic season. Through your help, we were able to obtain $63,000, just shy of our annual goal of $75,000, which allowed us to continue our impact through our international outreach, community service, and robotic performance.
And now it's time for some media mentions. For one, we were once on Fox News to celebrate our NABLE initiative and our impact on the community. And one other thing is, our very own Andrew Wang was once in the Forbes 8 Under 18 article for his fantastic work 3D printing face shields.
We're also on WOMC Radio with JJ and Joanne in the morning, featuring the Face Shield Initiative. And we're also featured on WXYZ Channel 7 as part of our initiative partnered with FIRST in Michigan.
To begin, first announce that the game would be replayed from last year. So we are excited to continue developing our skills as a world-class team, and we're continuing to spread STEM far and deep, helping grow the FIRST community and pioneering new programs and initiatives, including our Detroit Outreach and NBot programs. We also will continue meeting virtually and looking for community service and sponsorship opportunities as well. Thank you so much for having us today. Any questions?
Thank you, guys. Wow, you have been really busy. So I just want to say, first of all, it's a joy to have you here and to have our students and get back to what we're really here for instead of a lot of the adult talk that's going on. I think it's amazing what you did with the pandemic that we're in, and you didn't let it stop you one bit. And I know our community appreciates all you've done with the new program. So we look forward to seeing what you have to do ahead in the 2021 year. And you should be really proud of yourselves, because we are certainly really proud to have such a strong and committed group of students and sponsor and robotics team here in Novi. So if any other board member has any comments or questions, just Mrs. Roney.
Yeah, I had, you guys probably kind of saw off to the side. My husband was watching. I was very impressed. He was going to have some questions on what level of autonomy, but of course you answered that. And also what level of vision targeting they had. And of course you guys answered that. And he just wanted to make a comment that that is what his career is, the vision targeting. And he also says that he does owe you guys a tour out at Fanuc Robotics when this is all over with. So Janet, hold that to him, okay? Great job, guys.
Will do. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you, Mrs. Roney. Mrs. Hood, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, just a quick comment and one little question. I do want to compliment the Frog Force teams. Historically, I mean, we've had these presentations for several years, and then before I was on the board, some of my friends were involved in Frog Force, and it's just I love the inclusiveness of your teams, and everyone drives forward as a team. It's very team oriented. I love that. Now I had a quick question. This may be really stupid, but when you were going through the mechanics of the actual robots, you talked about that Swerve drive, and that, and write down there were 8% that got it or 8 teams that got it. But my question is, when you are assigned, I assume you're assigned a challenge, and did every team have to accommodate the Swerve drive, how that worked? Is that a dumb question?
No, so every team does not have to use a Swerve drive. There's multiple drive systems that a team can use. Most teams go with a tank drive, which is the basic 6-wheel drive that moves the robot forward, and it's like a car. It's an Archimedes drive, but a Swerve is more of a free motion drive, and we can rotate. It's a more complicated drive system where it allows our robot to maneuver around the field more easily.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Murphy, did I see you waving your hand?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Frog Force for giving Trustee Paul Cook a wonderful birthday present. Being an engineer, I'm sure he enjoyed the technical aspects of the presentation. And what was the percentage? You got dead weights, counterweights, or something like that? Like, what was the percentage of shots you could make with that after you figured it out?
Yeah, so we could nail, basically in the autonomous mode, we had this one portion where we would have to shoot like 5 balls, all aiming towards the center of the goal. So there's this outside hexagon shaped goal, and then there's this inner circular shaped goal. And whenever we ran our autonomous that goes right in front of that goal and tries to shoot all 5 balls, we would get all 5 in 80% of the time.
So we have Jeff Maas, who's on this call a little bit later, and he's a huge FIRST robotics aficionado, maven, and admirer. Maas, I know you come from another district, but you got to be scared here in this. We got the Swerve drive. We got 5 of 5. We're returning with the same bot. You might want to go and tell your people, just forget it.
But tell them to amp it up a little bit.
I'm just kidding. It's all about friendly challenges and whatnot, but super proud of you all. And Andrew Wang, where are you on my screen? There you are. Andrew, thank you so much for your persistence and your massive heart and your dad's willingness to let you take over his garage. You helped a ton of people, as did other students, but you were definitely a person who was on it in the middle of the crisis. And it just goes to show that public schools, public education, and the students that we have in our schools are stunning. So thank you, Andrew, and everybody else who made that happen. And watch out, Maz, we're coming for you.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. This wouldn't have been possible without you.
Awesome. Mrs. Murphy, did you have any comment or no, you're good? Okay. Any other questions? It is funny to see, as I was watching the video, Dr. Weber is so right. This is the language of a few of our board members, and I could just envision them sitting there staring at their screens, getting super excited. So thank you again for everything and all the work you're doing, and I really cannot wait to see what's ahead for you in the upcoming year. So Janet, do you have any comments?
I was just going to say thank you again for your time tonight. It's always exciting. I could talk hours about our team, but again, we always appreciate the opportunity to come in and share what the team has been up to.
Thank you. All righty. So that being said, we're going to move on to our next agenda item. And that would be comments from the audience related to agenda items. These days, we're having comments from the audience sent via Google Documents, and Dr. Matthews is reading them. Comments from the audience are not meant to be a two-way conversation. We have limited minutes of 5 minutes per comment per public comment. So Dr. Matthews, do we have anything to share tonight? You're on mute. There you go.
One comment that came in, but the actual comment is no questions for now, so I'm not sure we need to read that.
Okay, great. We will move right along then. So we have our consent items. We have consent agenda, the approval of the minutes, regular meeting minutes of August 6th, and the revised regular meeting minutes of July 16th. So if I could get a motion. Mr. Mena?
Yeah, I move that we accept consent items as presented.
I'll support.
Recommended by Mr. Mena and supported by Mrs. Roney. We can get a roll call vote, please, Mr. Mena?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Hood?
Yes.
Trustee Mena? Yes. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Roney?
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin?
Yes.
And Trustee Smith?
Yes.
7-0. Tonight we have 2 action items. The first one is the personnel recommendations. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. We bring this to you with a heavy heart tonight because there's a number of really great employees on this list that we are sad to see leaving the district, but we wish them well as they continue their next adventure. And I will let Dr. Kinzer share all the details with you. Dr. Kinzer.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. We'll begin with new hires this evening. Kimberly Gorney, Administrative Assistant at Novi Woods, and Kelly Stoy, Secretary at Novi Woods. And now a lengthy list of retirees. Sue Barrick, 6th grade teacher at Novi Meadows. Jeannie Dial, 5th grade teacher at Novi Meadows. Sharon Phillips, 5th grade teacher at Novi Meadows. Terry Garcia, art teacher at Novi Meadows. William Kelp, health teacher at Novi High School. Joanna Keitel, English language arts teacher at Novi High School. Cynthia Kuhn, 5th grade teacher at Novi Meadows. William McCord, English language arts teacher at Novi High School. Carol Mulhall, 5th grade teacher at Novi Meadows. Joanne North, art teacher at Deerfield. Alona Rugg, 6th grade teacher at Novi Meadows. Patrick Schluter, physical education teacher at Novi Meadows. And a resignation, Connell Walsh, a 3rd grade teacher at Village Oaks. We have 1 secretarial retirement, Gail O'Connor from the ECEC. a resignation, Nicole Sad, special education parapro at NATC, and one leave of absence, Courtney Kaidon. This is a year one childcare leave of absence. She's a 6th grade teacher at Novi Meadows.
Dr. Kinzer.
Thank you.
If I can get a motion, please. Mrs. Murphy?
I don't really want to, but I will. I would suggest that the Novi Board of Education adopt the personnel report recommendations as presented.
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Murphy and supported by Mr. Smith. Any comments or questions for Dr. Kinzer? Mrs. Murphy?
I do have a quick question for you, Gary. Obviously, we're really close to the start of the school year, and I'm just kind of curious about the replacement of all these teachers, especially for Novi Meadows, which is most heavily hit by this. Is there any concern that we have about finding teachers?
No, we in the last 2 weeks have posted numerous positions, not just at Novi Meadows, but across the district, and the response has been robust. Many applicants, and the screening that our administrators have done, the initial screening, has returned really impressive results. So we have a very strong pool of candidates to fill these positions.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And just one other thing. I mean, after looking at this, I know I saw this list, whatever Monday or whenever it came out, and it really made me sad. There's only 3 of those teachers that my kids have not had experiences with, and all of them were just fantastic experiences. So I just want to say, you know, we're losing some really great people. I mean, I know it's one of those things that we knew probably was coming, but at the same time, that's a really tough one for me to have to vote on, quite honestly.
I would echo your sentiments. This is a very strong group of teachers that we are saying farewell to. We will absolutely miss them. And we certainly wish them well and congratulate all of them on a great career.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith?
Thank you. I also want to compliment Gary and his team. I know that there was a lot of work, and there is a lot of work that goes into processing the retirements and the resignations, and there's just a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes. So thank you. I know you've been really busy with, the entire cabinet's been busy with, you know, a number of different initiatives. And on top of that, you've got all the resumes to sort through and prioritize. So I just want to recognize that work, Dr. Kinzer, and thank you for that. And then also personally, I won't go through the entire list, but you know, guys like Coach Sluter do a lot for our community and their basketball camps and their involvement with our kids, and they touch a lot of lives. And you know, Pat's always been a coach's coach. The one that tugs on my heart the most, though, is Mrs. North from Deerfield. You know, she would touch the lives of hundreds of kids every year, a little different type of job description than, you know, a teacher that had a shared classroom. And she was always one of the first people in that building, and she was always one of the last people to leave, firing up her kiln or whatever project she was doing. And, you know, I know all 3 of my kids loved her, and I always wanted her to win Teacher of the Year. But all I can say is if the NEF ever did rig a system, it would have been her as Teacher of the Year. So I guess she's evidence that it was a straightforward approach every year. But Mrs. North, on behalf of the Smith family, we love you and wish you the best.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any other comments or questions, Mrs. Hood?
Yeah, I too am sad. I wish these teachers the best. I think that Novi Schools is inherently, I don't know if that's the right use of that word, inherently weaker because we are incenting these veteran teachers to leave us. And we're doing it because we can replace these teachers with cheaper, younger teachers. And while I love our younger teachers, it is such a terrible position that schools are in. And we're doing this to mitigate or alleviate the risk that we are up against, because we're anticipating these massive budget cuts. And there is a solution to those massive budget cuts, but nobody is brave enough to do anything. And so I just want to say I'm sad. I wish our teachers well, love them all, but I'm also kind of mad about this.
Thank you, Mrs. Hood. Mrs. Roney?
Yeah, I kind of echo Kathy's sentiments on the fact that, you know, this is not something we really wanted to do. We were kind of forced into. Gary, I know you'll do an excellent job getting us the highest qualified candidates to replace these teachers. And, you know, I was very saddened by quite a few on this list. They've been wonderful. So we will miss them all. Thank you.
Any other comments? I echo what my fellow board members have said. We are really losing out on some really fabulous educators, and we look forward to seeing them in the community and hope that they will continue their work making just these huge positive impacts on the children in our community. And I do believe that they will in a different manner outside of the classroom. So once an educator, always an educator, I say. Seeing no other comments, if we can get a roll call vote, Mr. Mena?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Hood?
Yes.
Trustee Mena? Yes. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Roney?
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
And Gary, thank you for your work and the work that your team is doing. I know there's a lot of work ahead of you, but we appreciate what you've done so far.
Thank you.
Next, we'll be moving on to the commissioning services of professional services. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. Plant Moran Cressa, the district's owner's representative during the 2019 bond, is submitting an update as it relates to the assignment to assist and advise the district. Plant Moran Cressa is recommending that the district administration enter into a contract agreement with Horizon Engineering as per the attached proposal, pending final negotiations by Plant Moran Cressa and Troon Law Firm on behalf of the Novi Community School District. The commissioning services are a service that helps the district as they work through all the various components of projects. And this particular firm worked with us, Horizon Engineering worked with us during the 2014 bond. And they have submitted a good proposal for us that we believe continues to move the district forward. So we would recommend that the district approve this contract that we could finalize between the district and Horizon Engineering.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Can I get a recommendation? Mr. Cook?
I recommend that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve Plant Moran Cressa's recommendation to enter into a contract agreement with Horizon Engineering in the amount not to exceed $160,470, pending the final negotiation by PMC and Troon Law Firm on behalf of NCSD.
Can I get a support?
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Cook, supported by Mr. Mena. Any questions or comments, discussion? Okay. Seeing none, Mr. Mena, we will get a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Hood?
Yes.
Trustee Mena? Yes. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Roney?
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin?
Yes.
And Trustee Smith.
Yes.
And motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next, we have 2 items on our information and discussion tonight. The first one is technology moving to one-to-one environment report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. Over the last several months, it has become clear that a flexible technology solution is needed to ensure the learning and district operations can continue even if staff and students cannot physically be present in our school district or school buildings. The first step was taken when the Novi Community School District Board of Education passed a resolution on June 18, 2020, to purchase 580 laptops and 80 iPads for teachers and administration to allow for more flexibility and functionality for supporting student learning and district operations. These laptops will allow teachers and administrators to connect, whether at school or another location, to support our students. With the continued uncertainty created by the COVID-19 pandemic, we believe that it is necessary to provide our students with devices that they could use to support their learning either at school or at home. We are fortunate in Novi that many of our families have technology devices in their homes, but what we learned during the past several months is that our students need dedicated devices that they can use to support their schoolwork. With the support of the 2014 bond, our district has purchased devices to support the work of our teachers and students in our buildings. We created shared computer carts, deploying them throughout all of our buildings to provide students with technology on demand. As we inventory those devices, we know that we have enough devices to create a one-to-one learning program. Instead of keeping the devices at school, the administration believes that we should deploy the devices with our students. The device will be loaned to the student and will be returned to the district upon the student's exit from the Novi Community School District, or at such time the district needs to perform maintenance on the device. We have created a structure to track and ensure these devices. One of the main reasons the Novi Community School District did not create a one-to-one learning program in the past was the fact that the ecosystem was not in place. The district was missing a robust and secure place for online learning. The transition started approximately 4 years ago when the district implemented the learning management system, Schoology. Currently, Schoology is implemented in grades 7 to 12, while grades K to 6 are utilizing an online student portfolio and communication system. The intent is to move all grades to Schoology by the 2021-2022 school academic year. To ensure the success of our students this year, the administration plans to distribute our devices to the students in our district. Each NCSD student will receive a mobile device based on the criteria below. Pre-K through first grade would receive an NCSD issued iPad. Grades 2 to 12 would have a NCSD issued Chromebook. Given the work of our staff to move toward a digital learning environment and the shift toward flexible places for learning and the current pandemic, the administration believes that implementing a one-to-one learning environment for the 2020-2021 school year is in the best interest of our students and their learning. We would anticipate evaluating this program before the end of the 2020-2021 school year and reporting back to the board before continuing into the fall of 2021-2022 school year. It is important to note that we are in this position because of the community support for the 2019 and the 2014 bond as well. And this is a item that we wanted to have a discussion with the board on. We have these devices in our buildings. We think it would be best to deploy them with our students because both our hybrid and our virtual students need dedicated devices that they can learn with. Dr. Weber has a team here this evening to kind of talk this through if the board has questions or concerns. And so I would turn this over to Dr. Weber to introduce his team and also to give you some additional information on this project. Dr. Weber.
Hey, thank you. If the light's too much, let me know and I can just turn my camera off. I tried to put something there for the sun that's setting behind me. Doing okay?
Yep.
All right. Well, I am really incredibly excited and grateful to introduce some of the folks on the screen tonight, but also some people who aren't on the screen. I think it's important. I think, Steve, that was a fantastic introduction, encapsulated it. The Board of Education asked for some more information on one-to-one, so we're going to be doing a brief presentation tonight, and once I introduce everyone, I'll step back, and Mr. Anthony Lucrecchio will be doing that for us. But this cannot go, as you said, without thanks. And if you're to go to the high school atrium today, you would see that for the past number of weeks, Anthony Lucrecchio and his team have assembled I mean, I don't know how many, Anthony. How many devices are sitting over at the high school right now?
Oh, let's see. I want to say we're over 4,700, 5,000, about 5,000 Chromebooks, and wow, over 2,000 iPads. So
that's a lot. And so his team has been working on that. So who you can't see tonight, Luke Edwards is on, which I'm really grateful Luke is here. Also Grayson Thomas, Priscilla Fajone, Lisa Whiteside, Jeff Maas. These are really our core tech team. And folks that aren't here tonight that I do need to mention, Wanda Ciancio and Jim Fry, if we remember working with them. There are people that have come before us that really lay the groundwork for these opportunities. It's also past school boards who used the bond money and approved our bond money to do things to put us in this position. And of course, the most important being the community who placed their trust in us to do the right thing for their kids in the past and for the right thing for their kids now. To me, this is another example of when a storm comes, it's what you do ahead of time to prepare for that storm that helps you weather it. And today, Dr. Matthews called me out. We were in a meeting. He said, "Can I talk to you a second?" And he was getting a question for a reporter who was hearing that some districts maybe were struggling with getting the technology that they ordered. And I'm proud to say that Jeff Maas and Anthony Lacrecu on the screen came to me in the beginning of June and said, "I think it's time we make the play for one-to-one, and the sooner we get after it, the better." The school board then made the choice to hear for information and vote on the same night, which allowed us to order it, which means that our students and staff will be beginning with devices from jump. And I can't say thank you enough for the vision of Anthony and Jeff on that. And no offense, gentlemen, but Luke, you and your team are the ones doing that heavy lifting over there and getting all 5,000 devices. You should have saw the look on Trustee Mena's face when we said how many devices are over there. He gets it. There is a lot. And also just what it takes, the imaging on that and so on. I think tonight, Anthony will share with you that what Steve meant by the ecosystem. I think if I was a board member, the biggest question I would have is, RJ or Dr. Weber, why is it that you and Dr. Matthews said no to one-to-one a number of years ago? And now you're fine with it. And really the answer is about that ecosystem. We have our learning management systems. We know how to use them effectively now, and we can. So with that said, Anthony, if you can go ahead and pull up the brief presentation, and I'm sure that board members will have some questions for you. Again, thank you to the community. Thank you for our current board and all of the boards who came before who made this possible. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. And just real quick, I just want to mention Grayson Thomas has kind of been leading the TAs over there, getting everything ready, along with Stephen, Tia, Max. It's been awesome. So I got to thank them as well. So I'm going to share my screen real quick with everybody. Everyone see my screen okay?
I think we're good, Anthony.
All righty. All right, we'll begin, and I will actually have, I'll begin with having my director, Jeff Maas, kind of start off the presentation, just kind of learning about how the ecosystem has kind of evolved.
Thanks, Anthony. So we talk a lot, you've heard the word ecosystem thrown out there a lot today, and I think it's very important as we think about learning. Learning doesn't happen in isolation. It takes a bunch of moving parts, delicately balanced, to make it work well for our students. And Novi has done an exceptional job at developing an ecosystem, as we heard with Frog Force, as we hear with all of our different opportunities for our students. We have an outstanding ecosystem. This didn't happen by chance. Back in 2014, when we started talking about devices and had this opportunity to do bond purchases, we started talking about, what does one-to-one mean? And does that make sense? Should we do one-to-one, or should we continue along our path of a traditional device in the classroom, shared carts, labs? And we opted to go with the little more traditional model because we felt that our ecosystem wasn't present. And Anthony, you can click to the next slide. And that's an important piece, because the districts that I've worked with and seen over the years, those that jumped on one-to-one very often we're missing key pieces of that ecosystem to make it successful. They were buying devices because they could buy devices without thinking about what they're doing with it, what their students are doing with it, how learning is going to change from a paper pencil to a digital environment. Novi put kind of a slow play on there and was fortunate to buy devices, but we also spent a lot of time developing that ecosystem and starting to put pieces in place. And I think that's the key thing for our community to understand, and our board is the pieces that go in place to make something successful often take time to impact learning and impact our students and our staff. So we spent a lot of time building a digital ecosystem, and that started with Schoology and our Seesaw platforms and our move toward Google and the Google ecosystem environment. Putting those strategic pieces in place started to allow us to have different conversations about what students are doing and how they're accessing information. Textbooks going digital, moving away from traditional print and having electronic resources is a key piece where our students start to transform their learning. So all of this precursor work has shaped an ecosystem where the time is right to start to have a discussion around one-to-one and BYOD type environments for our students. Layer on our COVID-19 spring disruption to our ecosystem, and it's the perfect opportunity to start to take a look at how learning is transforming from the four walls of our school to anywhere, truly any place for our students and staff. So I'm going to turn it over to Anthony and the rest of the team, and they're going to kind of walk you through all the different pieces of the ecosystem as we start to move toward new opportunities for Novi.
Thanks, Jeff. And at any time, cabinet members or Board of Education, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt. So basically, you might be asking, what is one-to-one? At the basic term, it's one device per student. And top of that, we also want to allow for a BYOD program, or that's bring your own device. So in this environment, we're obviously issue it one device per student, or students can bring their own device to school. Now, with that being said, the expectation, obviously the device, whether it's BYOD or an issued device, should be coming charged and with the cord. Now, granted, when you say a device, sure, a cell phone can be a device. We know our kids are pretty fluid with them and almost fluent with that technology, but that's not generally the best tool per se what we're doing with an LMS and Seesaw. So in looking at this, the devices that would be issued, pre-K through 1 would be a district issued iPad, and then grades 2 through 12 would be a district issued Chromebook. And now some of the purposes or the benefits of a one-to-one program, I think are really highlighted in the top two bullet points. You're obviously a much more personalized learning experience for the students. And that second one, which is just kind of huge right now in this pandemic, whether it's phase 1, phase 6, by the governor order, is ability to transition between face-to-face and then the online learning. Obviously it can promote some collaboration, flexibility, and boost some technology skills, but those top two, I think, are the real big things that make it stand out, having a one-to-one program. I'll let you read that. And then obviously one of the things that can be missing at home is obviously the internet connectivity. So back in March, we had about 5 hotspots that were requested and issued out to families. And then on August 8th, the district put out a survey to find out how many families are in need of obviously a device and in which type of schooling. But what we pulled out of that as well is out of those 4,700 responses on the 14th, 28 families stated that they do not have an internet connection at their residency. So that's obviously going to be handled by our department and looking into some more hotspots to help reach, have that device, but obviously the device is no good if you don't have that connection. And now the future. So obviously the future of any type of program of this magnitude is getting the support for funding, from the community and the board to keep the one-to-one and BYD, obviously going within the district. That means device maintenance and upgrades and, infrastructure for on-site. But then obviously the refresh plan for the next 5 years of the different devices. And then, some of the biggest stuff is you have to include professional development or learning opportunities, not just for your educators, but obviously your students and parents, so they're engaged and they understand how to utilize not only the technology, but the LMS. And an important thing that we want to do too is halfway through the year is send out a survey, find out from an educator standpoint, student standpoint, parent standpoint, what's going well, what's not, what can we learn from this? And then doing the same type of survey at the end of the year. LMS, so that stands for a learning management system. And some of the benefits is basically you have everything in one spot for the students. The classroom data, the grades, the coursework, the videos, assessments, and they can complete it all there. Teachers can store all their content, repurpose it from year to year to year, and just build on it and improve, just as all great educators do. And I think one of the biggest things is the consistency that you're building. So whether you're going from face-to-face or remote, you have that consistency. And then obviously you can access that anywhere from internet connection, even with a cell phone. I'm sure it might not be as easy or as efficient, but it still can be done. Now, our two platforms, as we said earlier, Schoology has been used 7 through 12 for about 4 years now. And the idea is for the 21-22 school year, the idea is for the entire district to be on Schoology. But for this coming school year, our K through 6, they're going to be using the Learning Portfolio Seesaw. That's basically, it's exactly what it's portfolio. You're showing off students' work. There's reflections, and it's also it's a spot for communication between obviously the educators, the teachers, and parents, just kind of showing what's been going on and also communicate things going on, whether it's academically or school. Schoology is that one-stop shop, right? Teachers create anything and everything, and it's housed in there. It's one spot. So we've pushed Seesaw for a bit, but it would not be. It would be impossible to expect our educators K through 6 to start learning that in only a few months. So. And so coming down to the recommendation, after careful consideration and evaluation, it is the recommendation that the Novi Community Schools implement a one-to-one learning program beginning with the 2020 to 21 school year. This will provide the best support for our staff and students regardless of where the learning takes place. I'd like to open it up to questions, if I may.
Mrs. Hood?
I heard you. Sorry. As you know, I'm always delayed in muting myself. So when you make the recommendation for the one-to-one, does that mean you are not recommending BYOD?
No, it's kind of one and the same. So one-to-one, our recommendation is having both options. So we're going to offer, obviously, all students your pre-K through 1, that would be a district iPad. And then 2 through 12 would be a Chromebook. But then on top of it, there are obviously some families out there that may have prefer bringing in their own device, or maybe a student, to bring in that device. But then there may be others who say, hey, this is a really expensive device. No, let's go with one of the devices provided by Novi Community Schools.
So let me ask a question. I have been in this business for 28 years. And and I don't know what our platforms are like, so I ask this being ignorant of that. At the enterprise level, it is always, it has never been a comfortable fit when people bring their own device, because you can't maintain your security and protect against malware and viruses when you allow individual devices access to your back office without a VPN so how are we doing that? Let me say that. So, can you explain that?
So A majority of our work has been moving items to the cloud. So we're not allowing students into the back office like we would with, say, a corporate world that needs to get into the intranet or a proprietary software. Majority of our software and solutions sit in Google, which reside out in the cloud. Schoology and Seesaw are both cloud-based applications. A number of the applications and websites that the teachers use for instructional support all sit public-facing. So regardless of the type of device, as long as they have an internet connection and an up-to-date browser, it should reasonably work well for them. That's where we mitigate our security risks of students bringing their devices in. The other piece that we put in when students bring in their personal device is segmenting them either through the guest network versus our secure network where our staff would be functioning. So we can control that through VLANs and separating our traffic to protect us. Ideally, we'd love to have every student take a Novi device, but we realize there is some preference and some people will be concerned about having to own a district device and the potential liability for it. That is one of the nice things about going with the Chromebooks and the iPads. Those are less expensive devices than the Windows laptops that could have been selected at this point and meet, again, a majority of our students' needs. So I think, security standpoint, we've moved so much to the public-facing cloud that we mitigate that risk and that vulnerability that some corporations may see.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And Jeff or Anthony, could you please speak to the notion of insurance?
Sure. So with every device, we can't require a student to take a device. So it's an option for each student. They can opt out of the device. However, we are moving to an environment where they're really going to need a device. So either they provide it or they choose to use the district device. With that, we understand there's some potential risk of breakage and damage. So what we've been working with is a company called Safeware to provide optional insurance that families can enroll in that would protect them for the year for a nominal cost. Say a Chromebook is approximately $18.20 for the year. So if the student accidentally spills a Coke on it, it's covered. No deductible. Dr. Weber walks out of his office, has insurance, drops it, it's covered. So there's not a limit on the claims. They may question you if you have a claim every month for the school year, but we'll evaluate that as we go through. What it doesn't cover is an intentional neglect. Just like your car insurance would question you if you intentionally went out there and keyed your car, they probably wouldn't cover that, but they would cover it if you got into an accident and had problems. We're looking at an insurance, the same methodology. And we tried to find an insurance plan and program that was reasonable for what we felt was reasonable for our families based upon the devices we were handing out. The cost will be a little bit different depending upon the device. iPads are a little bit more expensive to repair and a little more fragile, so the insurance is slightly higher on that. But again, the families can opt into that insurance. If they choose not to opt in, they are responsible for the repair costs.
Thank you, Jeff. And I think Mr. Mena dropped off. Does anyone know where Mr. Mena?
Yes, he did. He had another engagement.
Oh, okay. So the other part, the board members may have questions. And Kathy, thank you for your expertise in your field to ask that question. That's not something I would have ever thought of. Perhaps, pardon me?
Tom Smith has a question.
Oh, I didn't see him. Where's he at?
Obviously.
Well, no, my boss makes me put his screen only up, so I can see everyone else's. So now I'll change that now that I've
the biggest face yet.
There it is.
My first question is, what's our investment in these 7,000 devices? Like, how much money are we cutting loose out there? I'm sure they're depreciating every day, but what's our investment?
So,
I didn't see that number anywhere.
Yeah, so part of this is a long-term investment. So the way it's working for our students is we actually have many of the devices already purchased from the 2014 bond. The new spend and the spend that the board voted on was for teacher devices. So we're going to take the Chromebacks from the teachers, give them to the students, and make sure our teachers have a more robust device. I'm also buying a little time here for Jeff or Anthony to get that pencil.
I'm just looking for a
Thanks for letting me do the math, Dr. Weber.
Got it.
It's about $2.1 million at $300 a device that the devices have been purchased over the last several years. So
I don't know if anyone else is concerned, but you use the word potential liability. It's a definite liability. We have a definite risk that more than one of these devices is going to get stolen or damaged. So are we able to have it not be optional for them to purchase the insurance? Or
legally,
if we've spent $2.1 million, would it be prudent to spend an extra $20 a device and pay for the insurance ourselves?
So to answer the first question, legally, we can't require insurance. Free and appropriate education, we can provide the device, but we can't require them to purchase the insurance. The second is we could self-insure on those, and we kind of do that anyways. So over the last 6 years, we've kind of run an internal self-insurance because the devices do break even in school.
Sure.
In a one-to-one environment, you'll see somewhere between 4 and 12% breakage on the devices, and breakage costs will run approximately, anywhere between 100 to, the cost of the device, when people break it.
What was that percentage, Jeff? I'm sorry.
4 to about 12% is what we're seeing on breakage. You'll have some loss in there. Students will lose the device. That's why we encourage parents to do the optional insurance. And we've moved more toward that across several districts as we get larger scale one-to-ones. And, but we've kind of run a self-insurance in the past since we've started technology, Mr. Smith. Every year we have breakage of devices that go on because kids accidentally, they're kids. They're 10 and 12 and 13-year-olds that are breaking them at school, dropping them. Obviously, the percentage is a little lower when it's staying at school. So that's where we factor in that 10%.
Well, I think you're smart to self-insure then. I mean, if it's only $100 as a repair cost and you get 10% breakage on 7,000 devices, that's still about half the cost of what, we would have to pay if we bought insurance for everything.
Right. So we kind of do an internal budget for that.
Yep, that makes sense. I support that. Thank you.
Mr. Smith. Mrs. Murphy had her hand waving, right? Correct?
Yeah, I just kind of along those same lines, I'm sure that you guys have already kind of thought about this, that obviously the optional insurance allows parents, a little bit of security because you're obviously issuing a device to them, correct, that then they would accept some responsibility for. But like our kids that have free and reduced lunch, I would assume that maybe that would be something that the district could cover. I guess I'm just wondering from an equity standpoint, how do we manage that?
Obviously, the district has the option to adjust the cost for those students in need. I believe that's a further discussion with the cabinet on how they'd like to address that. What we did do was try to put the price point at what we believed was a fairly attainable insurance cost, so most families could cover that. So I think it's a case-by-case scenario like we would do with many things and how to handle that.
Okay, thanks, Moss.
Any other questions?
I think also from a professional development standpoint, you see Priscilla, Sean, Lisa Whiteside here. It's going to be very important, as Dr. Matthews said, and what they've already worked on and we are working on is training our teachers and providing parent learning opportunities and obviously student learning opportunities around these platforms. As far as equity, I'm exceptionally proud to serve a community school district that is going to be able to put a device in every child's hands. That's a good feeling. I wish we were all together, as all of us do, but in this situation, I'm really proud of all the people that came before all of us even to get us here. Any other questions you may have for the team?
I think it's important to recognize that we believe these devices would be better utilized being distributed to our students as opposed to staying in our buildings. As you know, we have about half of our population that will be completely virtual this fall through November 6th at a minimum. And the other half of our population, they'll be coming to school 2 days a week and then having at-home learning opportunities 3 days a week. And so instead of locking our devices in our schools and leaving them there, we think it's really to our advantage to provide these tools out in the community to our students. The board has already voted to purchase all of these materials. And so tonight we really come to you with information to let you know that our plan is to distribute these to the parents in the community unless the board were to say to us that you would not support that. The recommendation that you would vote on has already happened because you voted to purchase these materials. And so now we have them. We are, as the administration, coming to you saying that we think the best use of these materials at this point would be to distribute them into the hands of our students so that they could use them at home and benefit from the materials that the district has already approved and purchased. And so that's why we're not coming to you to vote on this tonight, because we believe the vote has already taken place. We're coming to you tonight to inform you that we think deploying them in the community is the best option at this point, primarily because this is kind of the pandemic semester. And we really want our students to have every opportunity to be successful. Over the course of the year, as Anthony mentioned, we'll survey our parents at least twice and our students to get a sense of are the devices being used in the intended way? Are they benefiting the students educationally? And as we look to the 21-22 school year, we would then make a decision as to whether or not they continue to be important to be deployed in the hands of our students at their homes, or whether they would be best served returning to the buildings and being deployed as they have been in the past.
Yeah. And Dr. Matthews, we, out of respect to the board and making sure that we had this update, we have prepared for after tonight. Anthony Locricchio is starring in his very first semi-feature public service announcement. I've had some parents in the community ask me, RJ, should we go out and get computers right now? And I said, just hold on a second, wait until after Thursday night. And, we want to make sure that we're respectful, we're communicating well with people, but we will be providing the opportunity. And every parent that I've let that know has been exceptionally grateful. So I think whatever the school board can do to help us kind of get the word out among your people as well. We'd hate to see families going and buying devices that they don't need to buy. Jeff?
Thank you, Dr. Weber. I forgot to mention one thing, because this is, a public broadcast. And it's come up in other communities. As we do a one-to-one, the other advantage of taking the district device is we do provide filtering on every one of our devices, regardless of whether it's at school or at home. So we have filtering and monitoring tools that are available to protect our students as well, which may not sit on their personal devices. And families often have to pay extra for a Net Nanny or a Disney Circle or some of those other products. We put that in, and we are required to through our federal legislation. It's called the COPA Protection Act, Children Online Privacy Protection Act. So all of our devices will adhere to that. And really that keeps them free from, sexual predators and harm, sexually explicit material. So that's their requirement for our filtering that has come up when other districts have implemented that. So I want to make sure, because our community does watch, that they understand that these are filtered devices on and off premise. With that being said, of course, parent monitoring is always the best, no matter where they're at.
Thank you. Mrs. Roney?
Yeah, the question I have is for Anthony. Because we're doing hybrid and the students will be going back and forth, and in the classroom, they're going to need these devices some of the times. And if so, is it their responsibility to bring them with them daily? And if they don't, do we have spares that they can use?
Yeah, that's exactly what, you know, the administration is going to be working through, and that we've talked about. It's the fact that it's like any other tool, just like whether it's a tangible textbook, anything else, you bring that each day to and from school, issued device, charged, ready to go. And yes, we're looking into, and we have some spares. Do we have one for every student? Absolutely not. But it's putting that standard up there that needs to be, brought every day. But that's where we're working through and looking through some different points of having some possibly in a media center. So after we work through the distribution and find out exactly how many families come and take up on the offer, we'll be able to know how many we have obviously left over. But
thank you, Mrs. Roney.
Thank you.
Mrs. Hood, you were good. Okay, Mr. Cook?
Yeah, with kids using these at home, there's going to be 2, 3, even more kids probably around a table. So the parent recommendations, potential recommendations for like headsets and stuff or accessories, so that the kids are have their privacy. They can hear what their teacher's saying and not what their siblings' teachers are saying, and the likes of that.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll have a number of FAQs that we'll be putting on our website as we start to roll this out, including recommendations for headphones and microphones that would work with the equipment that we're providing.
And also, Jeff, we're searching out our own headphones we already have in the district that we could distribute as well. The idea is the Novi Community Coalition has purchased 7,000 sling bags for us, so we can actually put these computers, charging cords, and headphones in. And Mr. Cook, that's a great idea. I mean, you imagine 3 kids in your house watching all these videos would get loud. It's probably why you have your own headphones like that. So thank you for that.
Keeps it. Yeah, the dog's barking in the background at times here, so.
So we brought this to the board tonight for information, to let you know what our plan was. We wanted to make sure that you were supportive of this. If you are, RJ and his team have kind of worked through how to communicate this out and get these devices distributed before the first day of school. And so it seems like we have agreement that this would be something that the board would be supportive of us moving forward on. And so unless I hear differently, Dr. Ruskin, that we will move forward on this and get these devices that the community has so graciously supported in the past into the hands of our students, so they can have a device this fall to be successful with.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. I don't see any other further comments or concerns or anything else. So I want to thank Dr. Weber and his technology team. I think that it's another source of pride here in Novi, that we should be really proud that in this pandemic, when things are not, are looking a little rough and we hit some bumps and some detours, we found a way to use our ecosystem and really make sure that our kids and our teachers and our families are going to be prepared and make the best of the situation that's presented to them. So again, we should feel really proud of the work that you've done and what's going to be taught to our students and families on how to be flexible and agile in these kind of circumstances. So a great life lesson. So I appreciate that. Thank you. I think we will move on to our final information and discussion piece. It's the Oakland Community School Board Association resolutions and bylaws recommendations. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. Each year, the Oakland County School Board Association Resolution and Bylaws Committee reviews bylaws and recommends amendments to the Board of Directors and member districts. This year, OCSBA found that our bylaws placed restrictions on the way we conducted our business during the pandemic. Several of the proposed amendments address those restrictions during any declared local, state, or national emergency. The Board of Directors has reviewed the proposed amendments and approved moving these recommendations forward for a vote of our member districts. In accordance with the bylaws, each member district Board of Education has 1 vote to approve the recommended amendments. The voting period is designated as August 1st, 2020 to Friday, September 11th, 2020 at 5 p.m. Results of the voting will be announced at the September 16th meeting. So the information that you have this evening, there are 3 attachments. One's the ballot, so that we would bring this back on September 10th, which is our next official full board meeting. And you also have a summary of the changes and the rationale for each recommendation, and then a highlighted bylaws document. I would recommend this evening that the board take the next couple of weeks to look this information over. And then when we come back on September 10th, that the board would take action on the ballot to either approve or not approve the recommended changes to the Oakland County School Board Association bylaws.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. So we will take that time over the next couple of weeks, and if you have any questions, you can certainly forward them to Sheila Holly, and we can get the answers that we need, and then we will take a vote at our next meeting. Okay, moving on, we have our second opportunity from about comments from the audience. This would be anything that falls under the purview of Novi Community School District Board of Education. Do we have any comments, Dr. Matthews?
We do not have any comments this evening.
Thank you. We will move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. I'd like to thank the staff in our district for the work that they have done over the past several months and weeks. Teachers, administrators, tech staff, secretaries, bus drivers, maintenance, custodial, food service, childcare. All of our district staff have come together to deliver services to our community to ensure that we will be ready for the start of school on September 8th. I would like to express deep appreciation to our centralized enrollment staff who have worked with new families to our district so that they could get registered for school. Many of our families have asked how the school district is tracking the coronavirus and what indicators do we look at. First, it is important to note that neither Oakland County Health nor the State Department of Health and Human Services has a model for us to use to measure how safe it is for schools. We did create our own model that uses daily cases per 10,000 residents by zip code, 7-day average of daily cases in Oakland County, counts by day in Oakland County, and a new indicator that Oakland County Health has come up with, which is current cases by school district. The governor's return to school roadmap also indicates that if you're in phase 4, you can return to school with required and highly recommended safety elements, which we have in place. So we've created those safe protocols. We've worked with our administrative staff and our teachers to ensure that we're doing everything we can to ensure the safety of our staff and students. And our community is working with us to create safe conditions. If you look at the Oakland County data, you will notice that Novi data is among the best in the county. And so these indicators are not rising at this time. So I believe that the model that we have in place continues to point us to reopening schools. And we are not yet at the point where a 5-day return is possible, but our hybrid model will create rich opportunities for our students, and we will provide a high quality educational experience either through the hybrid model that we have or through the virtual learning model that we have for this fall. And more importantly, as our students return in the hybrid model, we will continue to provide a safe environment for them to return to. So that's my superintendent's report this evening, Dr. Ruskin.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matthews. Next, we'll move on to the administrative reports. We'll start with Mr. McIntyre.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of quick things here regarding an audit update with Pam Moran. I spoke with the auditor on yesterday. It's going quite well. They hope to wrap things up by Friday. We still have to do the compliance test on the bonds and the sinking fund, but it's going quite well. Also, the Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference is next Monday, August 24th. So I hope to have more information to share with you guys. I guess some good news is that the school aid fund is about $440 million more favorable than what the estimate was going to be. So that's some good news.
All right.
Also, we have 5 buses out at auction. We're selling 5 buses, and that it closes tomorrow, so we'll know what we're going to get for those buses. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you for that report, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you.
Dr. Kinzer.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. I'd like to use my report this evening to share just a few gratitudes. First, I wanted to just extend a thank you for all that Mr. McIntyre has done in just 1 month in Novi. He has learned impressive amount of information to wrap his hands around our budget and a lot of our other processes. So he's off to a great start in the district. And I certainly appreciate his help and support with staffing and then also with all of our bond projects that are moving forward. Also, our principals and directors who are hard at work with staffing their buildings and the hiring process. And then finally, Heather Burnside, her leadership team with our Novi Education Association, as well as all of our teachers, and their willingness and strong desire to be in the classroom with students, which is what's going to make our return to school plan successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kinzer, for your report. Dr. Weber?
Yes. So the first thing I want to say is I cannot wait to have kids back in the district. And as we're kind of working at this and going at this, this is a pure joy. As I said a couple weeks ago, I always viewed the customer as the student. Think parents, but if we keep our North Star and what's the best thing and really good things for kids, that's what matters. And I think we have like 16 participants. Gosh, we've had a lot more in the past. It's kind of a light night. But I was hoping a lot of kids were out there because we just want to let you know that we're excited both ways, on hybrid and virtual. And please know, parents as well, give us that grace on September 8th. Things will be very, very in place. And again, to all the students out there, we cannot wait to have you back. Where was I the other night? I think it was grocery shopping or something, and the masks make it hard. And a couple of students that I worked with in the past said, Dr. Weber, how you doing? How things going and so on? And I said, well. I said, are you guys coming back in person or are you going to do virtual? And they both said in person, they can't wait. So I can't wait to have their energy. And obviously, thank you to everybody who's doing it. But all you have to do is talk to one of our students for 3 minutes and it's completely worth it. It's awesome. So thank you. Can't wait to see you kids.
Thanks, Dr. Weber.
No, we have a lot of homework to make up for though. Kidding, we're not. We're gonna do it too.
All righty. Next, we have our board communication. We have Mr. Cook. Happy birthday. You're not allowed to speak till we all say happy birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Cook.
Happy birthday.
Go ahead. Now you may go.
No, thanks. I just wanted to thank Mr. McDermott and Mr. Dragoo and their crews on the district's grounds and the presentation of it. They've done a masterful job throughout the summer, keeping everything in tip-top shape, and I don't think they get enough kudos. So I just wanted to give them some kudos here.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Mrs. Hood?
Hi. Yeah, I got about a couple minutes of comments because I think it's important. We just approved the retirement of 12 veteran teachers and who we needed to incent to leave so the district can hedge some of that risk for the state funding, whatever the state funding cut is going to be. So Mr. McIntyre's report, if it's $400 million less than the $1.1 billion, I think is the last school aid fund deficit, wrong word, but that they anticipated, that would be a good thing. So maybe not $700 a kid cut, maybe it's more like $550 or something like that. But, having to incent these veteran teachers to leave, I think weakens our district. And we won't know what our state funding is until the state passes its budget. And there is potential help for public schools in the HEROES Act. It was passed by the U.S. House and it's sitting in the U.S. Senate. And it includes funding for state and local governments that the CARES Act, and I'm sure everybody knows about these because they've been in the news all the time, that didn't include. So I want everybody to be conscious of that. And, it's too bad I didn't say this at the last meeting when we had 200 people on. It's just you guys and who cares, right? But because I don't want it to be, I don't want it to happen when we get our budget cuts, we wring our hands and say, boy, how did this happen? We know how it happened. And coincidentally, I got a report today from the Oakland Schools Government Relations Liaison with data that had the governor's, it's called the GEAR, Government's Education Emergency Relief Fund, which was part of the CARES Act. And Governor Whitmer had $68 million to distribute to districts to use to support their students who are economically disadvantaged. So it was about $87 a student. It was a pittance. Novi wasn't eligible because we have only 9% of our students that are considered economically disadvantaged. But I bring this up because the leader of Michigan Senate, Mike Shirkey, he's from over in Hinsdale, not Hinsdale, that's Chicago, Hillsdale. He said last week that Michigan didn't need any more relief from the federal government because the state should learn to live within its means. And hold on, I wrote this down so that I would quote him accurately. The state should live within its means and suffer through budget pinches in coming years instead of demanding federal help to get through the cash shortfalls caused by the coronavirus pandemic. So Mr. Shirkey's Senate district covers 3 counties, and of the 35,000 students in his 3-county district, 58%, about 20,000, are economically disadvantaged. So what he is saying about his own students is that they don't deserve to be fully funded, and there's some debate on what fully funded is, but even funding preserved at the existing level. He is saying, my students, the kids in my district, they should tighten their belts. They don't need help. Well, Novi is fortunate, and we have very few economically disadvantaged families. So the other thing that I want to make sure people understand is that CARES Act, that's already been, much of the $2 trillion has already been distributed, and Michigan businesses got $16 billion. So, and Mr. Shirkey's personal business, he owns a business, it got $1 million. So the CARES Act didn't include any money for generic budget help for schools, but it helped for payroll for businesses. And what we need is a little help for payroll for schools. That's what we do. It's our business. We employ people to teach our children. Anyway, so back to sending our veteran teachers on leave. We've done this initial district action, asking our veteran teachers to leave so we can hire less expensive teachers in. But really, even if we stick with the $1.1 billion shortfall that was forecasted for the school aid fund this year, it is a drop in the bucket that has already, of what has already been, of the taxpayer assistance that has already been provided to private businesses. So I would encourage parents and students, we've got some vocal students, love them, to contact our U.S. senators, ask them to support the HEROES Act, and then maybe ask our Michigan legislators to stop saying that we don't need help, because we do need help. So that's it, my soapbox. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hood. Mr. McIntyre, I can see you like chomping at the bit. Did you have anything you wanted to add or no? No, you're good? Okay.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell if you were just intently listening or if you were ready to add on to that. So you're good. Okay. Mrs. Roney?
Okay, by the time I got unmuted. Last night, Oakland County, the school board had asked for a couple members from each school district to be a part of this DEA committee. and you know, they had a mission and a vision. It's basically to explore, understand, address, and share solutions for removing systemic barriers to diversity, equality, or equity and inclusion in the Oakland County public school system. And so over the next 2 years, I think me and Danielle are going to be a part of this. So I'll report back to you from time to time. They have some visions and such. But of course, you know, we couldn't all but keep our mouths shut about our school reopening plans, which I attended that meeting right after on Zoom. And one of the things they talked about, Dr. Matthews, was the metrics, how our county, our state has failed us to come up with any metrics that can give us a solution to, you know, when it's safe, you know, how we do it. And I'm sure they probably discussed with you, hopefully today, was it a superintendent's meeting you went to? About how they all need to get together and come up with some similar metrics, because you know, one school system closes but the one right next door is open. Why is that? And then the other thing that they talked much about was, you know, we've got only two school districts in Oakland County that are going with 5 days a week. But I think one of those is opening slowly. They're doing virtual for 2 weeks and then they're going. And then there's 4 of us that are going to do hybrid, which we are one of them. Yay for us. And then everyone else is virtual. And so it was really shocking. And of course, you know, Novi got a shout out because they said that we had quite a few active parents at our, I guess they must have watched some of our board meetings where we read the letters and, you know, they were talking about, oh, you know, we only had like 10 parents write in. So, I mean, I think it's wonderful that our parents are so involved. Our community is so involved, whether it be good, bad, and different. I mean, I look at these surveys and how many people are doing them. I think that's just wonderful. So applaud out to, of course, our administrators for getting the word out, and then for the community for, you know, taking an active part. But Dr. Matthews, I don't envy your job coming up with these metrics. I mean, it would be really nice. And then to learn that the nurse that we're going to get is a virtual nurse. So that just, you know, I mean, really, they don't want to come to our schools, you know, so we got a rough job ahead, but I know we're going to come out shining. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mrs. Roney. Yes, in regards to what Mrs. Roney has said, I want to thank you for stepping up to be on that ad hoc committee. It's the Oakland County School Board Association Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And as you said, they're going to meet for 2 years. So I appreciate your time and your efforts. And I'm really interested and excited to see where that team leads Oakland County schools. And, you know, maybe that can be the genesis of something that we can bring to fruition here in Novi. So I'm happy to have them leading the way and to have 2 representatives from our school board sitting there and talking through ideas and challenges and things that we can do better. So I appreciate you being on that committee and your time last night even. So, and then I did hear of another school board that started meeting at 6:30 tonight, right before us, and on their agenda, they had their metrics right up there. So kudos to you, Dr. Matthews, and your team for getting our metrics out there a couple weeks ago. And hopefully, as Mrs. Roney said, that gets the ball rolling and having some kind of data points and science behind the decisions that are being made here in the different school districts. So anybody else, Mr. Smith or Mrs. Murphy, do you have anything?
Sure, I'll share a couple things.
Okay.
Well, that's a pet peeve when people start talking. The first thing they say is, so sorry about that. our work, we just had our 3 new interns officially get underway. We usually will get them trained over the summer months, and then as school starts, they'll work anywhere from 2 hours a week to 5 hours a week. And we've been doing this now for about 10 years. And every year it just seems like these kids that come and work in our office are more talented. Like we always say, oh, this group's the most talented group we've had. And then they go off to university, and then we get another group and they're more talented. So I'll report back to you, but we've got 3 students from Novi High School that are going. One's a junior, the other 2 will be seniors this year. Our last 2 interns, Noah Bean and Paul Bieberstein. Noah's off to the University of Michigan in the Ross School of Business. Paul started down at the University of Notre Dame. So I'm just really grateful to have the support of, some of the teachers at the high school, and I think it works well. So, and then I also wanted to remind the board that I would like to ask for your help in change this year. I brought it up last year, and it's my understanding, not to point any fingers, so I'll point at Mary Ann, that Mary Ann was one of the few, if not the only, board members that attended a Novi Educational Foundation meeting. I've asked you guys as my peers to pick a meeting maybe once or twice a year so that you can get a little bit more familiar with what the NEF is doing and how we're looking to tackle the coming year. As most of you know, we did not have the Green Gala last year, so our fundraising is relatively crippled. And at the same time, our district could probably use the support of our organization now more than ever. Our first meeting of our new calendar year is going to be next Thursday. It's from 6:30 to 8. The last meeting we had was at someone's home in their backyard, where we were able to practice social distancing. And those that wanted to wore masks, but we were a group that was at 10. So it was a comfortable setting. We're hoping to do that again next Thursday, depending on the weather, or we'll do a Zoom meeting. But it's next Thursday from 6:30 to 8. And maybe I'll have Sheila send a reminder out, or I'll do that. But I guess it would make sense for me to continue, and I'll defer this for something for President Ruskin to consider, whether I would continue to serve as the liaison between the board and the NEF. I don't mind that because I'll obviously be at the meetings, but I would encourage you to join me for maybe a couple, 2 or 3 meetings a year, 1 or 2, see how you like it. So that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And yes, we will be doing appointments again in December for next year's board appointments. So definitely something for the group to talk about. But thank you for keeping us to task. And if you get Sheila those dates for the NEF meetings, she can share them with the board. And I think between the 7 of us, sometimes we have a lot of thunder going on with the pandemic and all of that, and we forget about, just the basics. So thanks for bringing that back up and reminding us, and hopefully we can get some more board members back out there to support the group that supports our students financially.
Did you let Paul know that we had a cake for him, but because we're meeting via Zoom, we weren't able to actually share it because of restraints?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I told him that I ate it before he got on because he was 2 minutes late. So
as long as the ice cream didn't melt.
I miss those meetings where we would have food before the meeting. We need to get back to meeting. All right.
Thanks, Mr. Smith. Mrs. Murphy, do you have anything?
No, I too look forward to when we can get back to meeting in person. I know it's going to be a while yet, but certainly I miss seeing you guys and seeing your faces in person, and certainly want to give a shout out at Gary. I don't envy you trying to get all these rest of the people on board. I guess I'm assuming that we will see some new hires, maybe even as early as our next meeting.
Definitely as early as our next meeting.
Is there a chance that we might have to have a special meeting in order to get?
More than a chance.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll be anxiously watching my email box because I definitely I know that's important.
Dr. Matthews will be addressing that tomorrow.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Thanks very much. Thanks for all your hard work, and thanks for the good news, Mr. McIntyre. We appreciate hearing a little good news every once in a while, given all the bad news that kind of seems to be occurring. I do want to just say, so Jeannie Dial has been really instrumental. I know I want to single out any teachers, but I do want to say that she was very instrumental in the little, it's not a science fair, Destination Imagination, is that what it was called? At Novi Meadows, I think that's what it was, where the kids would create projects and they had us do judging of those projects. I really hope that that's something that another teacher will take the charge on, to move forward, or maybe we'll get her to come back and just do that, which would be fantastic. But we definitely are losing some fantastic teachers. Joanne Keitel at the high school, my kids had her, Bill Kelp. I had the privilege of serving on a committee with him once. Just teachers that really do love and care about students. So I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision for them to make to leave, quite honestly. But I do wish each one of them the best in whatever they tackle next. Many of them are young, younger than I am by far. And so I'm sure that there is a bright future in store for many of them. And whatever they decide to do, whether it be still in the educational world or something with students, people will be very fortunate to have them as part of their organization or just in their lives, because they have made a big difference in the lives of our kids. So I look forward to seeing who's going to replace all those people. Dr. Kinzer.
Thanks, Mrs. Murphy. Mrs. Roney?
I just had a question for Tom. You told us that the meeting was next Thursday, but you didn't say where. Was it going to be Zoom?
We're not sure yet. One of our new trustees, Elisa Endris, has offered her backyard. There is an indoor pool for those daring enough to try that. And that worked well at our last meeting. We were in Trina Class's backyard. They have a beautiful home. It's all weather dependent. If it looks good on Monday or Tuesday for the weather report, then we'll all meet at Elisa's house. I will make sure that I get all that information to you board members, and we go from there. 6:30 to 8. We start sharply and we end promptly.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other board communication, I am going to ask for an adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Recommended by Mrs. Murphy and seconded by Mrs. Roney. Mr. Cook has graciously offered to step in in Mr. Mena's excused absence. So if we can get a roll call vote, Mr. Cook, that would be great.
Yes. Trustee Cook, yes. Trustee Hood?
Yes.
Trustee Mena is not here. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.